Okay, good morning. Sorry for being a little bit late. Just had a little bit of trouble getting onto this. Okay, we are in the middle of Mishnayos, Sefer Shvius. We're on Perek Hey, Mishnah Zayin. Nope, sorry, Perek Hey, Mishnah Vav. So the Mishnah reads as follows: Elu kelim shena uman rashay lemachram. These are the tools, the utensils, the tools that a craftsman is not permitted to sell. The issue here is that you have this craftsman who makes tools, and he's selling these tools during the Shemitah year. Now, if the person that he's selling it to is called a chashid ala shvius, he's suspect of not keeping the laws of shvius properly, which means that we suspect him of working the land on Shemitah. Then if we sell him the tools that he needs to use for working land on Shemitah, then the seller has the problem, has the issue of the prohibition of lifnei iver lo'isite michsha. Torah tells us in front of a blind person, you may not put a stumbling block, and this includes causing someone to do an aver, to transgress the laws of the Torah. So if this person is suspect of doing work during Shemitah, and we sell him the tools that enables him to do that, then we have transgressed lifnei iver, causing someone else to sin. So the thing is, though, that from the Mishnah we're going to see, it depends on what kind of a tool we're talking about. If the tool is exclusive for working the land, that means that that's what he's buying it for. That means that we have to suspect that he's buying, since he's suspect of not keeping Shemitah, we have to be concerned that he is buying it to actually work the land, then we can't sell it to him. However, there are going to be examples in the Mishnah of tools that if they have permissible use also, then we can sell it even to the person who's suspect, because we can assume that he's going to use it for permissible purposes. Or basically, it could be used for permissible, it could be used for forbidden. But being that it could be used for permissible, that allows us enough to say that what we're selling him is not causing him to sin. Now, were this person not to be suspect of working on Shemitah, then we would say that why is he buying this tool that's used for plowing if he's not working land on Shemitah? The answer is he's buying it now for after Shemitah. But that's only for someone that he's not suspect of transgressing Shemitah. But someone who is, we have to be concerned that he's going to use it for that year, for the Shemitah year itself, and therefore we're not selling it to him. So the Mishnah says, Elu kelim she'ein ha'uman rashay lemachram. These are the utensils, the tools that a craftsman may not sell the Shvius during the Shemitah year. The first example is macharesha v'chol keleha, a plow and all its accessories and all the things that go along with it. Basically, as the Yad Avram reads, these are all used exclusively for the forbidden activity of plowing. Therefore, not be sold to a suspected violator. When we're talking about a plow, there's nothing else that you use a plow for other than plowing. And therefore, for the person who is suspect of not keeping Shemitah, you cannot sell him the plow and all its accessories, because they are exclusively for the purpose of plowing, which is forbidden on Shemitah. The next example is ha'ol, a yoke. This refers to a yoke specifically designed to harness animals to a plow. If it were used also in pulling a wagon, for example, itself would presumably not be forbidden. Meaning, I can't describe the difference to you. But you have a yoke that's used exclusively for plowing. You have a yoke that's used to keep the animals, harnessed onto whatever it's pulling. That's used for a wagon, or could be used for a wagon. So once it's the kind of a yoke that could be used just for a wagon, and animals pulling a wagon in Shemitah is permissible, you're allowed to sell them that yoke. However, the yoke that is specifically designed to harness an animal to a plow, that you may not sell to the person suspect of not keeping Shemitah. The next example in the Mishnah is HaMitzvot. A mizra is defined as a winnowing fork. Now, this is interesting because we have to really kind of clarify if winnowing is forbidden during Shemitah. You're not working the land when you winnow. So the Rambam says that if we're talking that if a person basically reaps on a large scale and processes on a large scale, that is forbidden to do. If you do it on a small scale, the Rambam says, that is permissible. Let me read it to you from here. Rambam considers only large-scale reaping and processing to be biblically forbidden, while small amounts are permitted. So if it's on a large scale, it's forbidden during Shemitah. On a smaller scale, it's permissible, which means if we know that during Shemitah, you're allowed to go into a field and cut down wheat, cut down grain that you need to feed your family. And the truth during Shemitah, you got to make sure that you don't hold back other people from coming into the field, according to the way the Torah describes. But the point is, says the Rambam, but if you were to reap on a large scale and winnow on a large scale, which means more than what your family needs, then we would say that it's forbidden to do. So we'd have to say that this winnowing fork is specific to large scale winnowing. And therefore, this large scale, this winnowing fork, you may not sell to the person who's suspect of not keeping Shemitah. And the last case is Vahadeker. The Deker, they translate here as a plowshare. A plowshare is a pointed iron peg which formed the cutting point of the plow. And this, again, was exclusive, specific for a plow. Now, it's interesting that this kind of a decker, this plowshare, could have a permissible use. You could possibly use it to dig up dirt. But as the Adam explains, you wouldn't buy a decker. You wouldn't buy this plowshare just for the point of digging up some ground. You would always buy it because you want to use it for a plow. And therefore it is considered exclusive to usage of plowing, which is something forbidden on Shemitah. You may not sell that to the chassid, to the person suspect of not keeping Shemitah. But then the Mishnah continues, one may sell this person a magal yad, they translate it as a hand sickle, or magal kotzer, a reaping sickle, va'agol and a wagon, v'chol kela, and all its accessories. So what that means is like this. If you're selling this to the chassid, that means it has permissible use. And all these three things, the hand sickle, that you could carry with your hand, you would put it in a wagon. So therefore, if you take this hand sickle or this reaping sickle, they describe the hand sickle as a small sickle capable of cutting only a handful of grain at a time. One edge of its blade was smooth, while the other had teeth like a saw. But that's the description of what hand sickle is. And that is what you would use to cut the amount of grain that you need for your family, which is permissible. And then you want to put it in a wagon to take it home. So you want to buy a wagon and all the accessories of a wagon to be able to take this cut grain home. That's all permissible. And therefore, these things you may sell to the person suspect of not keeping Shemitah, because at the end of the day, we don't have to assume that he's going to use it for something forbidden. The Mishnah concludes that haklal, this is the rule. Anything, any implement that its usage is solely for the purpose of something sinful, something forbidden to do on Shemitah, like the plow, usher is forbidden to sell to this chassid, to this person who's suspect. The isser leheter, if it can be used for forbidden purposes and permissible purposes, like the last examples we gave with the hand sickle, mutter, that'll be permitted to sell to the person who is chassid, who is suspect of working during the Shemitah year. Okay, so that concludes Mishnah Vav. Now we'll do the daily lesson in the Sefer HaMitzvot, so the Chavetz Chaim, and we're up to the Mitzvah Mem Vav, Mitzvah 46, which is Mitzvah Saseh, it's a positive commandment. Shetachalitz hayavama na'al hayavam im enoretz leyabma. Yesterday's mitzvah was the mitzvah of Yibam. If a person dies without children, there's a mitzvah for the person's brother to marry his sister-in-law, the widow of his deceased brother, in order to establish a name for his deceased brother. Now, if you don't want to perform that mitzvah of Yibam, or nowadays that we don't perform the mitzvah of Yibam, you're obligated to do what's called chalitza, to actually go through the process by which the widow is now no more bound to her brother-in-law, but now free to marry somebody else. So mitzvah saseh shatakletz hayavama na'al hayavim v'eineretz liyavma. Positive commandment for the yavama, for the woman who needs yibam, referred to as the widow, to remove the shoe of her brother-in-law, of her husband's brother, if the husband's brother, doesn't want to perform yibam on her. And shenemar, we'll start reading as the pasuk states, the man does not want to marry his sister-in-law, she shall remove his shoe from his foot. That is part of the process of chalitza. And it's a special chalitza shoe that she removes from his foot. The performance, the act of chalitza, is only done through people, rabbis who are expert in these laws. It's not just done by anybody. You have to be proficient in the laws of how to do it. Now, whoever does not perform a chalitza on his yavama, if he's not parent, again, he's not going to marry her, so he's got to do chalitza. If he's not going to do it, bittul mitzvahs aseizu, he has now disobeyed this positive commandment. He has to do it. So the Chavetz Chaim writes, "V'yesh anasha sh'rimnoim lachletz ligiv b'sayim." There are people who don't want to perform a chalitza on their sister-in-law, because they say shia lehem sakana deizeh, it's going to cause them a danger. Meaning, the Torah says that when a man does not do yibum on his sister-in-law, and the chalitza process is done, there's like a declaration that's made. So this is what should be with someone who has not performed the mitzvah of yibum. The removing of the shoe, whatever it symbolizes, and it's definitely not a declaration that praises the person for not performing yibum. Now, therefore, my understanding of what the Chavetz Chaim is saying is that the people didn't want to do this because it was a bad sign for them, it was a danger for them, and therefore they didn't want to do it. But on that, he says, this is a tremendous mistake. Yisharim darchei Hashem. The ways of Hashem are just. Nothing wrong will happen to them if they perform the mitzvah. This is all they can do. This is the only choice that there is. And therefore, this is what you have to do, and nothing will harm you from it. Well, the hepech and the opposite, if they don't want to fulfill the positive commandment of chalitza, is a very serious sin. This applies in all places, at all times, and that the point of chalitza is not just to allow her to be free, but it's actually a mitzvah. It's actually an obligation to perform chalitza on her when you do not do yibum. Thank you for joining and participating. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos. Take care, and again, let's all be strong. Let's all do our best to do what we need to do in this situation. And again, have a beautiful and wonderful Shabbos. All the best.